Saturday. I hope you're enjoying this day or whatever time you're watching this. Just sending positivity and prayers and great things to this day. So, I saw this article on Essence and I was like, I need to talk about this because really it took me by surprise. I was like, what? We still doing this? Are we still here? Um, yeah, it just really threw me off. And yeah, career identity crisis. I was like, are we? Wow, people are still going through this. And I think the reason why I was so shocked and taken aback is because I'm so far removed from this that it's not that I forget what it feels like, but when you walk in so much freedom and finally being in the place of your passions and purpose, the sting of being in this kind of place or being at a job you hate or like not knowing where you're supposed to be in life, the sting of that kind of disappears when you're in the place that you're supposed to be at. So I just figured, let me jump on here really quick and say a couple things on my thoughts from this because, like I said, I was a bit thrown off. And yeah, I was putting my hair up as I was I'm getting ready to go to work out in a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I look like a whole fly girl. So shout out to the 90s and in living color. But this is the best way I can work out to keep all this hair off my neck. All right, I digress. Anyway, so Essence just put this up and it says a new report shows workers are looking for better career opportunities and currently unfulfilled by their current ones. Well, duh, right? This is most people I know, talk to across generations are in this space. But when I saw identity crisis, and I thought, okay, that's because a lot of them don't know who they are and where they're supposed to be. So I'm just gonna skim through this a little bit to give some context about what I want to talk about today. And it says, according to a new report by Flex Jobs, found that nearly 60% of workers responding to a recent survey shared that they're open to change and are looking for new career paths. Another 25% have already tried or successfully made a career pivot already. So, yeah, a lot of this is coming from the great resignation, a lot of shakeups and things happening. But the psychology of this is saying, there's some redefining we need to do, all that. But ultimately, people are not happy where they are. And let me just pose to you that happiness in a job and happiness in work starts with happiness within yourself. I know that's not rocket science, but we tend to separate work and home and wonder why we're still miserable. If if you want to be fulfilled, if you want to have like a continuous amount of joy, especially in how you spend your time every day, if you want to be revved up, then you cannot separate work and purpose if you want fulfillment. They are not two separate entities, they are not two separate equations, but they are two parts of the same equation. You can't separate it. So I ask, what are you put on this earth to do? Why are you here? Who are you called to serve? Why are you called to serve them? What gifts are you supposed to use to serve these people? If you cannot answer those questions, you are going to struggle with fulfillment at work in your career. Some people have the ability to just like separate work from home. Good for you. I'm here for you for that. But at some point, we shouldn't be compartmentalizing our lives in such way. It's unnatural. Everything moves and works together. So in order for you to sow your work into something that's going to bring you back a good harvest, you got to be sowing into some work that you actually want to be doing. So just really quickly about my urge to have you focus on your purpose while you're here and to get a picture of what fulfillment looks like. Don't put it off any longer. Tomorrow is not promised to us. And if we keep saying one day, one year, one whatever, it will continue to stay far away in the distance. It will never be something that you can tangibly touch, hold on to, have and hold today. So one, and I'm saying this from personal experience. One thing for fulfillment looks like is renewable energy. Who's tired all the time, no matter what you do, no matter how you, the sheer grit of trying to get through the day, you're burned out and tired all the time. When you are in a place of fulfillment where you are connected and aligned with what you're supposed to do and the work that you're doing, energy will come. It's just it's in there somewhere and it'll come out. When you spend time with in your gifts, it gives you energy. It gives you that source when you're like, man, I don't really feel like doing nothing else, but you get an idea or you have a new way of doing something or you're in your rhythm or you're in your flow. That energy will come from somewhere and it will propel you forward. So, Demaya, how are you? Goodness, I think the last time I saw you was like downtown, and I was still in college back then. But I was at some Forest Park a little while ago, and I thought about you. And I hang out with Dana all the time, all the time. But yeah, so fulfillment, you'll get some energy from somewhere. So the sense of being tired, sure. And there are times where I feel tired. I got my hands in a lot of different pots. But there are other times where I'm in a flow. I'm not drained every day, all day. Fulfillment also looks like drawing the right people to you. Who can attest to having horrible bosses, horrible teams, horrible subordinates? Because that's real. We got to give it up to the leaders who have to manage difficult people, or you're just in an environment where it just feels heavy. You walk in the door, you're like, ugh, everybody's unhappy here. But when you're in this place of fulfillment, you draw other people to you who are also operating in that way. And then you get this synergy of ironing, sharpening iron. Then this cloud of heaviness, it will lift off of you. So if you want a better work environment and you want better people, whether you're a leader and you need better, you'll draw great people to you because you're emitting that back out. It's a magnet. And the fulfillment also looks like having opportunities or opportunities coming to you that you don't have to toil for. And I say that as, remember, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And if you haven't checked out that video yet on YouTube, go ahead and check it out. But this sense of I got to do everything right, I've got to have all of my I's dotted and T's crossed. Quality and attention to detail is important, yes. But you should never feel like if I don't dot that one I out, dang it, 3 days ago I did not dot that I. Oh man, so this is going to affect my review and my performance, and it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't have to walk in that kind of sense. But again, when your hands are doing the work that highlights your gifts, that serves people in a way that they feel blessed and honored and they're energized just because they're working with you, the opportunities just kind of like come, stumble by. And it doesn't matter what the environment is doing, it doesn't matter what the economy is doing, but these things will come to you and you don't have to stress yourself out trying to like, oh, how do I get to the next level? You don't have to do that. It'll be there for you when you connect work and purpose. Hello, friend. Happy Saturday. Nice to see you. So, but staying unfulfilled and this whole sense of, actually, let me stop sharing so you could just see me. Okay, there you go. So, this sense of fulfillment when you're unfulfilled and these over 60% of workers who are in this unfulfilled place, what happens with that is it poisons your perspective. So it's really hard to say, well, I'm just going to find another job because this is awful and horrible. Your perspective, though, is poisoned when you just kind of walk around with this backpack of resentment. So it's hard for you to actually find the right thing. So one thing this article said was it talked about some people have made career pivots already. Y'all know I'm all about pivoting, especially in work. But if you want a successful pivot, you want to pivot to the right place at the right time, that is going to meet your natural style of behaving, meet your natural motivations, meet your gifts and talents. You're you have to have the right perspective, and that comes with your perspective not being poisoned by where you are. But when you sit in unfulfillment that long, that's one of the things that can happen. Bitterness. Don't try to look for something new if you got a root of bitterness in your heart. That's not going to help. Bitterness, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier, is a rotten root. And that rotten root will turn into all kind of chaos, turmoil, and evil. So don't look for a job when you've got this resentment or bitterness and there's poison in your perspective. Deal with that first. There are so many resources and tools out there for you to not be in this space. But it's up to you to make the choice to want better and to humble yourself to get some help and to get some support. You don't have to do this yourself. Who said you have to do that? If that was the case, you would already be out of the situation you're in. And then the other thing that happens when you sit in this place of career identity crisis is that your gifts become kind of dull. You're not using them, right? And gifts increase with use. So if you don't use them, they become dull. So the thing that you're really proud of or naturally good at, now when you try to implement it, it's like, wimp, wimp. So you want to make sure you, no matter what's happening, no matter if you're like, I don't know, and I'm gonna borrow this from my mother, whether to scratch my watch or to wind my butt. I don't know. Go with what you do know, which is I know I'm good at this. Never detach yourself from your gifts. Even if you don't get to use it all the time at work, then you need to pick it up as a hobby. Get somebody who knows you and to say, you are so good at X. We got to get you back out there doing it, whether it's improv, whatever it is. Have a buddy that's going to go out there and say, we got to get you doing this. Or, hello, a coach, somebody that's like, you are spending time on things that are not fruitful for you. How can we get you back into doing the thing that gifts are like a lamp post. They will light the way for you, but you can't put it down. It's a tool. You have to continue to use it. Kimberly, I'm glad to hear that because there's so many burned out people out here, and it doesn't have to be that way. Like, we need you to not be burned out. We need your gifts. If we had your gifts out here, think about all this chaos happening in our world. You would be able to alleviate some of that. You're meant to alleviate that, but you have to deal with your career identity crisis because it's attached to your life, your personal identity crisis. You can't separate the two. So if nothing else, that's what I came on here to say today. You can, if you're confused in career, you're confused somewhere in life. Let's get to the root of that. Let's discuss it. And I'm saying this because I'm not confused. I'm in a place where sometimes I'm tired, but I'm like, man, I got this great idea. I can't wait to share it with my folks. I can't wait to share it with my other leaders. I can't wait to share it with my colleagues. And then I'm refreshed and all kind of new stuff just starts popping up. And I'm like, oh, great opportunity. Oops, check this out, check that out, check this out. Great. So now, if anything, I'm tired just from being overly stimulated and happy and excited. I'd rather be tired from that than tired from giving energy that I don't have to people who don't care. So it's time to make a change, people. The numbers have shown us too many of us are burnt out, and a lot of us, sadly, and I don't see a lot of text on this, so maybe I'll blog about it. You're going to leave and pivot right, because there's nothing more soul sucking than leaving one awful environment, workplace, and going to another one that's just as bad. Because then you feel like, well, there's no hope. There is hope. You just pivoted wrong. So answer those questions of, what are my gifts? What am I good at? Who am I called to serve? How am I called to serve them? And then that will start to unpoison your perspective. All right. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. Feel free to message me if you're like, can you say that to me one more time? I forget. You need to hear it 1,000 times. I'm the person that will be yelling it from the rooftops. Get out. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There's just a few small tweaks that you need to make. And I am here to help you guide through that process. All right. So you know where to find me. You can email me at info@upwardlypavepath.com. You can go to my website at upwardlypavepath.com. All of the fun things. But let me know where you're at and your plan on how to get out, or if you need a strategy of how to do that, we can talk about that too. There's well, that's good that you love parts of your job, Kimberly, but the stifling means it's not, the ratio is still off. So it's not for naught, it's not lost. So the parts of your job that you love, how can you transfer that and translate that somewhere else to where you love the majority of your work, and rebalancing that equation? So maybe there's one little thing that you're like, I don't love this, but I get to do all these great things over here. That's when you're winning. And that's when your creativity, you wake up in the night and you're like, I got to write this down. I've got to, that's where you should be. All right. Well, thank y'all for hanging out with me and my fly girl hairstyle. And